All right, so I'm gonna do a quick breakdown of some GU trades that I took last week. Um, a couple of them, just two. One that total out to be a 25 to 1, and the other be a 14 to 1. So I'm just gonna kind of do like a top-down analysis. The previous week, the previous week started. Matter of fact, let me put this here just so I can have like a kind of like a breaker here. Okay, so let's go back here. Okay, so the previous week had essentially closed here. I'm sorry, open here rather. Open here, and the low of the week was here. Um, we're gonna focus on the previous trading week here, but just doing like a top-down analysis of like where my bias and everything came from, right? So this week here, I approached this week and I was more so focused on selling. Now I did catch a nice buy opportunity here, and I'll dive into that later. But the primary reason why I was focused more so on selling was because this here, right? So the previous week had made this nice impulsive move up, but me, it is very unsustainable. Nice impulse move, a lot of inefficient price range created, right? Then the price action created afterwards did look somewhat corrective. However, I still wasn't in favor of this potentially being the catalyst to drive price higher, primarily just because of this low that essentially created this high happened at a level, essentially a key level in the market. So I knew that this could potentially be inducement right here, right? So nonetheless, just fast forwards, that was pretty much my idea going into the week. So nonetheless, I knew that I seen that every one of these highs here were created at a key level in the market. So it's potentially inducement, right? Now this high was created later on doing in the week. However, so I'm gonna dive into the buy here. Um, I'm going to jump down to the 1 minute time frame. All right, so obviously, so now you see my narrative, my bias, all derives from the higher time frame structure, things of that. And then now I'm just down here, painting a picture. So the week opens. Let me turn the sessions on. So the week opens here. The week opens here. Frankfurt, Frankfurt goes up and creates this high. London creates this high and then drops significantly. However, this wasn't convincing to me as like a breaker structure for price to go lower, primarily just because I could see where this high being created was at a key level. So I knew this could potentially be inducement. And then also considering that Frankfurt created this high, as I talked about in previous videos, Frankfurt is often known for, manipulating price in the wrong direction. So for me, this just seemed more like an inducement and London just coming to grab, the liquidity of these lows. However, at this point in the market, I was just focused more so on harmony, right? So once I had that narrative from a scalp perspective, the only thing I wanted to see was scalp shift back bullish, right? So internally, keeping that in mind, saying that this was an inducement, right, for price just to go higher, entice a low to then create a high, right? So I could see how how New York open took London's low and then internally broke structure to the upside. Now, I wasn't really concerned about taking anything in here. Only thing I wanted to see the next day was a follow through, so I woke up at 2. I wake up at 2 every day. So I woke up at 2. Once I woke up at 2, I seen that this lower New York maintained. We got some nice maintenance come Asia, nice impulse regression, right? And then here was my optimism. Right now, I'm like, okay, harmony is back in favor to the upside. Keeping in mind that my overall bias is to sell. But however, I do understand how, liquidity and everything has to cycle within the market. So I hedged a buy here. Got my nice optimism, strong push to the upside. Very simple point of interest and all the things of that nature. So take a buy. Target there was the top of to come sweep all of these layers of inducement here, right? So that was my target there. Didn't have no intentions of holding that or anything of that nature, so closed it completely. Take profit. This here, I could have been aggressive and taken a sell here, but per my rules, this didn't necessarily give me opportunity to take a sell. And then also, considering I had just bought here, this buy went extremely well. I just wasn't forced. However, what I do like to notice is that if I would have got some, a little bit better price action here, I would have definitely taken a sell just because of the way how the price approached this area. I'm gonna turn the sessions off now. We're in London. How price approached this area, leaving this entire range here essentially unsustainable and things of that nature. So it's just things I like to see when price is approaching my point of interest. Either like to see some very unhealthy, unsustainable price action ranges, or just like some very weak order flow where I see a lot of mitigations, like a bunch of higher highs and higher lows being created, but the price essentially is really not going anywhere. So just very weak order flow. So nonetheless, I didn't catch the sale here. Wasn't too worried. I did take note of, turn the sessions back on. I did take note that post this drop here, that there could be potential liquidity sitting above this high here, New York, primarily just because New York came kind of like a midpoint between London and then the low. But nonetheless, I'm not going to dive too far deep to that aspect, but just to keep the ball rolling. So from there, once I seen, obviously my target, like I said at the very beginning of the video, was the low here. However, this high here didn't take that low. We came in, price, then shifted from a scalp perspective, price internally shifted bullish. It's kind of like the same setup at the very beginning of the week, where New York ran London's low, got an internal, a nice internal breaker structure back to the upside. Asia comes back and creates a low at a potential inducement level here, so for me, if anything, when I woke up, if I were to potentially take a buy, which I still wouldn't have been too pressed, it would have had to just been price action would have really had to been in my favor or something I just really like to see. So I would have wanted price back down in here somewhere below here, anything of that nature. But nonetheless, I wasn't too concerned here, just kind of just watching, flowing. However, once Thursday closed, the charts had my attention. And the reason being is because when New York opened, New York made this nice impulsive move up. But look at the range. Like I said, I love unsustainable price range that are just essentially like inefficient, right? And then once I seen how New York goes and then runs the buy side liquidity of the high created during this drive here to drive price lower, right? I wasn't necessarily concerned about what price mitigated off of here. I just knew that come Friday, I could potentially look for a sale. So then I'm back to just jumping down to smaller time frames looking for harmony. Now, I do want to dive. I'm going to back up here and just jump out to the 30-minute and turn this off. And I want you to see that, okay, so if somebody were to ask, why did I look for price to come back and take this after seeing this reaction? First, I knew there'd be good liquidity here, but after seeing this reaction, why not use this as a point of supply, okay? And the reason being is because The main thing I'm looking for at this point was after this breaker structure here is maintenance here. I want maintenance here, right? Seeing that we did not get this low here and the way price turned back to it, only thing I want to see is maintenance. Now, why not sell or look for sales off this supply zone? Because this supply zone failed to go take this low. So in terms of the way I'm viewing the market is that, okay, if this supply failed to take the low, would I view this as a supply zone to sell off of again, or would I view this as liquidity? And for me, I view it as liquidity. There could be liquidity essentially resting above this, because as you can see, this supply area here did give a reaction. You know, it did give a reaction. However, like I said, this point of supply here failed to go take the load that I wanted here, right? So just me thinking that, to me, this is more of there is liquidity resting above here more so than this being a supply. Also considering that it was New York, and keeping in mind that a lot of the volume does come in during New York, that this is a strong point in the market where a lot of sellers could have potentially had stop losses above here that potentially sold this drop down during New York. So just a lot of ways in which, I'm just analyzing the charts, from my point of view. So diving back in, I'm gonna dive back into the 1 minute and just jump straight into the sell. So here I woke up. I usually don't trade on Fridays. So come Friday, I woke up, it was around like 6. So I woke up right around in here somewhere, price was here. And when I woke up, this is like the very first thing I seen. When I seen this move here, I was already in favor, like, okay, I was already in favor of sales. And then once I essentially went and put my whole narrative to it, I could see where Asia had created some inducement here, entice a low to then create a high. So then once I seen the inducement here, London runs that inducement, get a perfect reaction off the 50% threshold of this supply candle here. And then from there, just seeing the maintenance, just you got your nice, really nice, strong push out, your optimism. Price then trades back up, mitigate off this supply zone here. You got your maintenance, optimism once again, internal breaker structure, and from here, everything else is just, you can just create whatever you want to create. I use the supply zone here. I don't really dive into like supply zones and things of that nature, but yeah, from there it was just pretty straightforward, which turned out to be easy, 14-1. And obviously my very first target from there was this low. And essentially I was really confident about this low at that point, because for one, keeping in mind I had been building my narrative all week. Like I said, we got a relatively deep retracement here. We got potential inducement here. Now we got an unsustainable price range here. So now I have three key things that have lined up in my favor, right? Liquidity, inducement, liquidity, unsustainable price range, no whole bunch of inefficient price action. So from there, it was just out to the races. I went break even at this point here. At this low here of New York, I went break even once price got that. And then the thing, also what I do want to note is that, even if you didn't take a trade here and you only execute, during New York, the chart still provide an op. Once you see you got your breaker structure here. Take this off real quick. You got your breaker structure here. Price still provides op. You got another discount play here come New York. So nonetheless, that just pretty much wrapped this video up. I hope that was useful. Got some pretty nice topics in here, just kind of seeing how I analyze inducement, things of that nature. What was also interesting about this sale here was that I actually forgot about this target because this was my original target that I wanted for GU from the sell side. And I just thought it was odd that price did almost go all the way to there and not tap it. But this reaction right here at this specific line, there is some M1. There's a lot of M1 stuff from the smaller time frame that went on here. Some inducements and things of that nature that you can go back and back test if you would like to see kind of like why price reaction and things of that nature. I love doing that because for me, the price makes no mistake. So every point it does react, there is a reason and nothing is random. So yeah, that'll pretty much wrap this video up. Hope you enjoyed it.